whatever you gave me on the last podcast, sickness-wise, I'm feeling. Now, I don't know what it was that was going through your household, Brooksy, but I got it. And you can hear it in my voice. I know you can hear it.
We have been sick in our house. We're like light at the end of the tunnel. We're feeling better now, but it's like a month. So buckle up. It's just like you're only like actually feel like sick for a few days, but it's like a month of just like the junk in your face and like a little bit of a cough and like hacking up lung cheese. It's freaking gross.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Yeah, buckle in. I don't know what it is.
Can I say that? Happy New Year. It's January 6th, episode 70. The WAKE.
Well, we haven't been on this year. So yeah.
Yeah. Can I say that? How late is too late to say Happy New Year?
It's too late, but for podcast where we haven't been on since because we've had our all holiday stuff going on and family in. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. I was just telling Brooksy before we jumped on, we had my nephew in town, 12-year-old Titan. If you had a shout out Titan. We had him here for
his
the
name's
holiday.
Titan.
Titan. Sweet name, right?
He better be a badass.
We went to the cages.
You can't just be like a podcaster and your name be Titan.
Let's just say he's going to be making his MLB debut in about 10 years.
MLB? He needs to be like an MMA fighter.
Okay. No, he gets into his fair share of MMA.
Is he a baller? Does he play ball?
Yeah, he can play ball. We're trying to get him into some more leagues and stuff like that. He's had some home things happen, but he can play. A dude can play, no doubt.
Cool.
So, but point being is because I had this 12-year-old kid, I need to test out some new vernacular that I learned. So if I say cap on the show, like Brooksy, you're capping.
The thing is that's not new.
That's not new. Okay, how about
it's new to you? It's new to you.
Have you ever heard of Riz?
What was that?
Riz, R-I-Z-Z.
Can you use it in a sentence?
It's tough. It's more so like you just say Riz, but
okay.
This kid, I'm gonna butcher it, but this kid,
a verb?
It's more like an adjective. It's basically describing somebody who can pull with the women.
He's a Riz.
He's got game. Is
Riz. This after Anthony Rizzo?
Maybe. I don't know if Anthony would claim that, but he should.
Bring him on the show and ask him.
We're already getting off the rails. It's been like 5 minutes. We actually do have.
I have actually never heard that. Can you hear my children screaming? Like, I think they're sword fighting at some point. With actual, it stopped. If you didn't hear it a minute ago, you won't hear it because it was loud.
You know what's great parenting? Ignoring your children and just doing a baseball podcast regardless.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's talk about baseball.
I'm taking notes. Yeah, we actually do have a real episode for you guys today. Not a lot going on, but Rafael Devers extension. Trevor Bauer, his situation in Los Angeles has been decided. That's as of this hour. Some shakeup in Los Angeles in the Bauer administration. I'm missing a headline. That was my third one.
What are you missing?
Rafi extension.
I mean, Correa.
Carlos Correa situation. Thank you. Yeah. So Carlos Correa, apparently, his situation with the New York Mets is, one might even say, imploding.
So a lot of people think it's his leg because he has a leg issue. I still think it's his back, dude. If you're looking at a long term into your late 30s, early 40s, I'd be worried about his back more than his leg, right? Like that's something, if he has disc issues and eventually that turns to an arthritic situation in your back when you're lacking cartilage and the padding in between your spine, like as you get older, like I have that issue. I'm 34 and I have back issues still from an injury I had. So I don't know if it's something with his back. There's no insight. I haven't talked to him about it. Like I don't pry with players when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not a reporter. That's not my job. His contract is going to look much different. And I floated this out to some Pete Abe, friend of the show. I said, man, what do you think about like what if the Sox offered him like 3 years, 120, like 40 per, but like strap him down for his, like lock him in for his prime, right? Mm-hmm. Because what is he, 28, 29, 30, 31? Like get those years, like really the best years remaining in his baseball life, as far as baseball years go. I mean, 40 per is still great, but if you're not going to be able to sign a 10-year deal, I know he's still going to try to find a way to sign a 6-7 year deal, but why not float that out there and just see what happens? Because I feel like he wants to stay with the Mets. That's why we haven't really heard anything else. He hasn't backed out like he did with the Giants. So
the thing is, if the Mets are hesitant to hand out some money, that's an issue.
But I guarantee they could go high AAV. Stevie Cohen, at this point, like, do whatever you want. Like, you're already in the highest threshold. You're not going to be taxed. I mean, you'll be paying more because you'll be further above it. But at this point, I don't think he gives a shit. So,
well, he clearly does. They don't want to give him that 325. What they originally.
I don't think he's worried about the money. He's worried about the years and like being stuck to a guy if he can't get out of bed when he's 37 and he has 4 years left on his contract. I think that's more the issue. Money is not an issue with Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
So it's more being contractually connected to a guy if he's not going to be able to play. So I don't know. I think we're going to see a much smaller deal because there's clearly people worried about the backside of that. You're worried about the backside of those contracts, even if they're perfectly healthy. Mm-hmm. Like everyone's worried about Xander Bogaerts, even Trey Turner. Like these guys, you're still going to eat the last 3 years of that. They're not going to be the same player once they're 37, 38 years old. Father Time is undefeated, bro. Undefeated. We know that. So, but in order to, and we talked about this over and over again, to lock in elite talent and secure their primes in this game, you must overpay them and extend them further than you need to and further than you know they're going to be productive, just to secure them for the best years of their career. Now, if you get a guy who's not going to be serviceable the last 4 years, that's when you're running into the issue, and I think that's what we're seeing with Correa.
It's kind of a good encapsulation and a good symbol for who Steve Cohen is, though, because a lot of people think Steve Cohen is spending money mindlessly. There's no strategy to it. There's no logic. No, he's spending money, and there's strategy behind it. He just doesn't care about how much money he makes.
He's not. Once he finds something he likes, he's not afraid to pull the trigger because of the money.
But he's not just handing out money to guys he finds on the street.
No, look at the guys he's signing. Like, these are legit players.
Right.
Justin Verlander won a Cy Young. Yeah, he's older.
It's calculated.
But his elbow is only a year and a half old, 2 years old.
It's calculated is my point. Like, he's not just handing out money.
Well, this is where analytics come into play for teams nowadays. It's like there's not much of a guess anymore.
Yeah. Like,
you're really able to project the ceiling and the floor for these players. And if the floor isn't too low, you go for it. It seems to be pretty good at projecting these guys.
So the latest from John Hammond is that, and this is, of course, all part of the strategy from the Boris group and, Correa's camp, is that Boris is now talking to at least one other team. This was a week and a half, 2 weeks after the Mets reportedly had agreed.
I don't not believe that.
I believe it 100%. If nothing else,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't not believe it. Like, think about that for a little. I don't not believe it. Like,
I think the Twins are back in. I think they're potentially a good.
I think the Twins are in. I think the Cubs are in. I think
Sox.
I think the Sox could be in if it's a 3-year, 4-year deal. But that is zero insight on my part, other than if you can keep Trevor Story at second base, because if you move him to short, you don't have a second baseman.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
According to Heyman, too, the Mets are citing the Correa lower leg ankle injury. That is supposedly what is still holding it up. To your point, I think it's a combination of lower leg injury.
What possibly could that?
So this injury happened 7 years ago. It was before he even hit.
But it was a broken leg, right?
Right, and then he had surgery on it. I don't know if the
I don't know the details on the injury, so I can't. If the ankle joint is included, which I can understand a little bit with my injury, I don't know the details on the break and on the injury.
I have a question for you, and maybe this is naively speaking. Why don't you just make the same deal but make it all incentive based? Or does Correa not want to sign that type of contract?
Players want guaranteed money.
They do.
Players want guaranteed money. They don't want to have a shit year and make half as much money as they could have made. And plus, in my opinion, it doesn't help the player in that situation. Like a contract year, a guy going into free agency, yeah, they play better because they're going into it. I feel like in that situation, it's almost more pressure on the player, and it becomes more about money and less about winning. So, in my opinion, no, I don't think that's good.
Do you think San Francisco's back in the fold? Could you imagine?
I don't.
Could you imagine they originally offered
after that? I feel like they're like, F off, dude.
Yeah. Well, they ended up signing Michael Conforto, who is also a Boris guy. So
every player's with Boris, it feels like at this point.
It's true.
At what point is Boris just going to own the MLB?
Him and Stevie Cohen.
I mean,
the question that everybody is asking is, who do you think he'll end up with? If it, you know,
I think he ends up. I think he still ends up with the Mets.
Yeah.
I think Correa is a winner and he wants to win. Obviously, he wants to get paid. But I think winning is important to him, and that team's put together to win right now. So, I think it's the Mets. Let's move on.
Your reaction to Rafael Devers signing the $300+ million extension with Boston?
Love it. There's a couple different angles here. The fan base has not been in a good place after letting Xander walk, not getting that deal done last spring, not getting it done during the season, not getting it done this offseason. Once it didn't happen during the season last year, it wasn't ever going to happen because they were going to have to overpay, and that's not what this group does anymore. I think the Rafael Devers signing was a way to kind of pull back some fans. It's like, all right, like we want to keep our guys, we're not letting everybody go, because otherwise that was going to be a distraction all year long, especially if they're not winning. And right now it doesn't look like they're going to be winning a lot, in my opinion. I think they can. They're going to have some standout years from guys that we're not expecting to have big years. You're going to have to stay healthy. And they're going to have to pick up another arm or two, in my opinion. I would love to see them re-sign Michael Wacha, but I think a lot of teams view his year last year as an outlier year, maybe. But I don't want to get off the tracks. On the Devers stuff, I expected him to sign for more, honestly. But if you look at, so they agreed to the 1 year 17.5 like 3 days before that, to avoid arbitration. So if you include the 17.5 for this season, it's essentially 12 years for $348.
Mm-hmm.
He's making $82,000 a day the rest of his career. Is that good? A day,
pretty close to my salary.
A day. That's nuts. I love the signing. I do think if you look at the 11 years, 331, it's essentially 30 per. Which by the time he gets later in that, he's 26. So it's going to put him at 38 at the end of it, which isn't extremely old for a guy who's probably going to be a DH by 35.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that body's going to age, honestly. I think he's gotten much better defensively. He could end up moving to first later in his career. I don't know if he will, but that bat is why you have him. He's gonna produce. He rakes.
You hit it right on the nose. What stuck out to me is the age.
Yeah.
One of the bigger concerns with Aaron Judge was his age. At age 31, how long is that body going to hold up? The ages when their contracts expire, and I looked at notable free agents from this past offseason. So Verlander obviously is going to be 42 years old. Trey Turner is going to be 40 when his contract with Philly ends. Xander Bogaerts, 40 when his contract ends with San Diego. Jacob deGrom, 40. Aaron Judge, 39. Jose Abreu, 38. When Rafael Devers, his extension ends with Boston, keep in mind there is not a no trade clause, but whenever his extension does end, he will be 37 years of age, and he's right up there with some of the best players in the league. He's going to be younger than all of those players that I just listed.
And I think his bat's still going to play at that point in his career.
Were you surprised that there was not a no trade clause? I think Chaim Bloom.
Is that true? Like, I don't know if all that has come out yet because he hasn't signed yet. A lot of details haven't come out yet because he's still pending a physical.
Sure.
There's no opt-outs. I know.
Shout out
There's
to my
no
guy, Corey Fallon, by the way. He owns the Baseball Quotes Twitter. He put together this video for the CBS Sports TikTok. And there have been 3 players for the Red Sox to have signed a contract of $150 million or more. All 3 of those guys went on to play and be traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. By the way, that does not include Mookie Betts, who was traded before his extension. That included Adrian Gonzalez, David Price, and Manny Ramirez. Those were the 3 guys that signed for $150 million with Boston and was traded to the Dodgers before that extension let up. So if history repeats itself.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. I'm not even going to entertain that.
The Dodgers are interesting. That's actually a great segue. So the Dodgers declined keeping Trevor Bauer on their team. So they're going to eat the $22 million and they have released Trevor Bauer.
Not surprising. Even though his he released a statement that said he thought that they wanted him.
Yeah, I want to read that for everyone.
You should
I found that very interesting.
That was interesting. Not surprised here. I mean, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, where's he gonna land?" I don't think anybody signs him. I think he ends up pitching like Korea or Japan. No, probably Korea. I hate that because the arm talent's there, but this is 2022, man, and I don't know all the details. I know what the initial case looked like, but supposedly there's 2 other women and this and that. And I think the unknown is what scares teams.
Yeah.
I think the picture, I know there's been a much higher percentage of women that watch the Red Sox the last few years, which is great for the game, growing the game, bringing women to the game, because I know a lot of women within, in my life and our friends and family that love baseball, and I love seeing that. That's great. How does that look to your fan base? Does that push more fans away? Does that push those fans away? Regardless of the details of the situation, it just has a stigma around things like that. And people tend to not look as much into the detail and just see the outside, the cover of the book, maybe, regardless of the details. And I think that'd be a big issue within a lot of cities and organizations. I know Boston would probably be one of those. I would love the arm talent for $700,000 and just release them whenever you need, if you wanted to, or trade them for prospects or.
It has nothing to do with talent.
I just don't think it's worth the distraction. Boston could use his arm. A lot of teams could use his arm. They don't want the distraction.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that comes with Trevor Bauer. It's not just what he has done in the last couple of years with the legal issues. Like, he brings a lot of stuff, like his vlog and his drones and his videos, and he's walking around filming. Like, people don't like that shit. I've talked to a lot of guys that do not enjoy that in the clubhouse. I don't know him personally, so this isn't a personal attack on Trevor Bauer. This is just, I know there's a lot of guys that don't enjoy that. Like, that's your safe haven, that's your locker room, that's your space, and they don't like it being videoed and talked about all the time because that's supposed to be like secure and private.
Remember the video? It was Joe Buck. I believe it was the All-Star game. He walked into the clubhouse and Jeter's sitting there. I think he might have been sitting there with like Ortiz. Maybe I don't know who was sitting by his side, but Jeter told Joe Buck, dude,
that was fake, right?
Fake or not, I loved it.
He's like, hey man, get out of here. We got a game to play.
Yeah, we got a game to play. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was staged.
Staged or not, I feel like it's fair to say that would probably happen if Trevor Bauer walked in with his webcam sitting on his head. Like, dude, what are we doing? Come on. Like, this is a clubhouse. There's a time and place for it.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't know all the details and all that. It's not my thing to really get into it, but I would be very surprised if we see a contending team, a big market team sign him. As much as his arm talent would help them, probably. I just don't know if what's the saying? I don't know if the squeeze is worth the juice.
Juice is worth the squeeze. Yeah.
Juice, yeah. That.
I'm going to read the Dodgers statement first, and then I'm going to read Bauer's. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Let me paraphrase here a little bit. But the Dodgers official statement, this was what really stuck out to me, is it says, 2 extensive reviews of all the available evidence in this case, one by the commissioner and another by a neutral arbitrator, concluded that Mr. Bauer's actions warranted the longest ever active player suspension in our sport. Basically, they said for that reason, he will not longer be part of our organization. Trevor Bauer's statement, this is what stuck out to me, is he said he was disappointed by the decision, but he's looking forward to competing elsewhere. He said, following 2 weeks of conversations around my return to the organization, I sat down with Dodgers leadership in Arizona yesterday, which would have been Thursday, who told me that they wanted me to return and pitch for the team this year. So he claims that the Dodgers leadership wanted him pitching this season as of yesterday, and now they're saying, no thanks. I don't know how much that is true. I'm sure Bauer's trying to help his case and say, look, obviously the Dodgers are an organization that wanted me to pitch for them, but they obviously opted not to. But optics are one thing, and not to mention too, like, I think you hit it right on the nose by saying it's not just the sexual assault scandal or investigation. It was what he does in the clubhouse. Players probably don't love that. Even during his free agency process before he signed with the Dodgers, there were questions about things he had done in the past too.
Right, and that's another reason I think the Red Sox are definitely out on him.
He had gotten into feuds with women on Twitter constantly. He's not afraid to speak out.
One of the obviously the glaring reason teams don't want him, but the other stuff that I brought up within the clubhouse and maybe not having the best relationship with his teammates, Kike Hernandez and Justin Turner now play for the Red Sox. Yeah. They're going to have, those are the guys that are going to be the leader and the voice of that Red Sox clubhouse. Let's be honest. Those guys are leaders. They're best friends. They're going to bring that winning mentality and hard-nosed way of playing over to Boston. And if they ask him, hey, what do you got on Bauer? I don't feel like they're going to be fans. Just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. That's just my feel because I know how Justin plays. I know Kike pretty well. I know how he plays, and they're very similar in the way they're thinking of like, just win the day. Let's work hard. Let's just focus on baseball and winning, which you have to do in Boston and you have to do in LA. So I don't think they would want the distraction. And I'm not even talking about the legal cases. I'm talking about all the extracurricular activity. Who is Trevor Bauer? And he has built this empire, this YouTube channel, this TikTok, Instagram. Like, he's done a great job building his brand. Obviously, he's had issues tearing it down the last couple of years. But as far as like people that follow him for the baseball aspect of things, he's done a great job of building that. I just don't think it's loved in the clubhouse. Just my opinion.
Which of your teammates was really into the social media fad? Did you have anyone? It was a little bit before the real.
Yeah, man, not in Boston because it was still kind of early.
Yeah.
You know, we had like Twitters and stuff, but Instagram, like, I don't even know if I had an Instagram. Instagram didn't get big till like 2015, 2016 when it really like started going.
Are you saying Dustin Pedroia wasn't taking mirror selfies?
He did not. No.
Surprising.
Yeah, no, I didn't really have any teammates that were big into that stuff.
So you think Trevor Bauer is going to be playing overseas? That's your prediction? I
think that's the safest bet to go make money and pitch and maybe like pitch well for a year or two. And if he like absolutely balls out at some point, that could give him basically he needs to go play competitive baseball while all the kinks get worked out in these cases to prove his innocence. If he is innocent, obviously, I don't know if he's innocent or not. Like, I know what happened with the first case. I know all that was wiped clean and all that, but I know supposedly there's 2 other women, and I don't know the details. I'm not going to pretend to know, but he needs time for that to be worked out. And if it's just sitting on his butt, just like throwing in a batting cage in Scottsdale or LA or wherever he's living, he needs to go play competitive baseball. And his clock is ticking. Like, father time, man. He's getting older. That arm's getting older. I know he needs to go pitch. So if it's overseas, go pitch overseas. Show people you still got it, and then hopefully all this gets cleaned up. if it is able to be cleaned up, and then maybe he can get a job because the arm talent is there.
Yeah, I think if it's about money, going overseas would be the right decision. For him, however, he's guaranteed to make $22.5 million this year. The Dodgers have to pay Bauer that much money. They actually saved a little bit of money because of his suspension.
Right.
They were
saved like $10 million.
Yeah, he was supposed to make nearly 35, but he's going to be making $22.5 million. He can now sign for the league minimum, which is $720,000 with anybody in the league. His suspension ended. He can pitch on opening day if somebody wants him to. So if I'm Trevor Bauer and I'm not worried about making more money than my already $22.5 million, why not go either back to Cincinnati or Oakland? You make league minimum, you get traded midseason. And if you really do want to compete at the highest level, you're going to get traded midseason because the Reds, the A's.
So you think like a rebuilding team could pick him up? It's cheap. They're not spending money.
You're buying prospects.
You're basically saying maybe he pitches well. We trade him to someone, and maybe that buys time for the cases to get worked out during the season before July 31st or whenever Did they set the trade deadline? Remember last year it was like August 2nd.
Yeah, I don't know if they have, to be honest.
I haven't looked into that.
Look into it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions there. I think a lot of teams are going to avoid
Not to mention these teams that are rebuilding are struggling to get fans in the stands.
I'm not sure he's your guy.
I don't know if he's going to help or hurt.
I don't think it's about fans. If a team signs him, it's purely to trade him.
Yeah.
But what if he doesn't pitch well? Then you just release him because he's making league minimum and you're not tied to it.
Exactly.
So, okay. What else you got? Is that it? Not a whole lot right now, man.
No. We did. Well, you actually had something interesting. We have a mailbag Q&A, and we'll get to that at the end. But you had an interesting little idea for this podcast.
Okay, yeah. So
we can't.
It is clearly it's what, July. Well, this podcast coming out July. I just said July. January 7th.
You good?
No, tired, man. I got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. It's a zoo in here. So it is January 7th. It's way too early, in my opinion, to make predictions as far as superlatives and division winners, because rosters aren't completed. They're not constructed. We don't even know full rotations and lineups. And if you had to pick one prediction, whether it's a storyline, whether it's a division winner, a World Series winner, a pennant winner, a Cy Young MVP, like whatever, do you have anything that you would just like to float out there? Like, it doesn't even have to, we're going to do these episodes down the road, probably, February, late February, and say like, all right, these are our predictions. Mm-hmm. But if you had one right now, just a fun one, do you have anything?
I think I kind of said it last year and I failed, but I'll say that Mike Trout gets back to the playoffs.
I mean, with the expanded system, like it makes.
Here's the deal: like Shohei Ohtani is going to be a free agent at year's end, and it's uncertain.
Where is he going to sign, and why is it for $500 million?
Yeah. It's uncertain whether he'll be back in an Angels uniform after this year. It's uncertain who's going to buy the team.
Question: do you think the Dodgers, how they're kind of standing pat and like pretty boring, are they saving money to sign Shohei Ohtani?
100%, which is
right?
Which is a mistake in my opinion, because I don't want to say they're still a good ball club, but you don't want to waste a Mookie Betts year. You don't want to waste a Max Muncy year. Every year that clock is ticking. You just mentioned,
because the Padres, like, if I had to pick a winner of that division right now, it's the Padres
on paper. Yeah,
I mean they look good.
Yeah,
full year Josh Hader. Soto's probably going to be a lot better than he was last year.
Soto had a bad
Machado has an opt out, so it's essentially like a contract year for him. Like, I'm going to if I ball out, I'm going to go make 40 per, because he's making like 32 this year, I think. So maybe you see him ball out. Fernando Tatis Jr. is coming back on April 20th. He just got cleared for baseball activity, by the way, today.
Yep.
I think it's April 20th he's able to play.
Maybe the suspension was the best thing for him, because he was able to have 2 surgeries, one on his shoulder.
Except now he's just not going to be a Hall of Famer.
I still think he could.
I don't know, dude.
The narrative's
people forgot Nelly Cruz did it.
Yeah, exactly. Tatis goes and hits 40 bombs, and people will forget real quick. Maybe not forget.
I don't think
they won't forget.
In the words of Jonah Hill, people don't forget.
They won't forget. They will ignore it.
They'll ignore it because they like winning. Okay, so what was your
Ohtani? I think
Angels make the playoffs.
Go time for the Angels.
Okay.
What say you?
Okay, so I got a fun one. I did some research on this.
Right.
I have a Cy Young pick
already
in the NL. It's fun. This is just like a fun thing.
Right.
I don't know if I'm gonna stick with this. Just hear me out. It's fun, and it's based. I was looking at like the new rules and who it might affect because it started because I was looking at what lefty hitters are going to be, have better years because of the shift and this and that. So I started digging deeper on the pitching side of things. Spencer Strider.
Yeah.
NL Cy Young.
Okay.
We know he's a strikeout monster, right? The only thing I worry about with him is like longevity. Like, can he throw 200 innings? But if he throws 200 innings, he could strike out 300 people based off of his K per 9 and all that. So hear me out. Spencer Strider. So the pitch clock is going to alter like a lot of veteran pitchers. I think it's going to alter a lot of elite arms because they're at the pitch faster. They might get tired. Their velo might not be as high. They might not go deeper into games. And we might see that affect like some big time arms. I don't think it's going to affect Spencer Strider though. He's a high velo guy, but last year he averaged just 10.9 seconds between pitches.
Where do you get these stats?
I looked it up. I'm going to tell you.
That's on Savant.
You can look it up. I'm not giving away my sources.
Okay.
So that's well below the 15-second clock that will most likely be implemented. So, I think we see him lead baseball in strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
If he's healthy. Now, he was hurt a little bit last year. He didn't pitch a whole lot in the minor leagues before he got to the big leagues. He was drafted in 2020, I think. He's young.
Yeah.
He hasn't had that much time, but 97th percentile in fastball velocity, 76th and fastball spin. By run value, he had the 5th most effective four-seamer in all of baseball last year. I thought it was really interesting. And you put all that together, and then you throw on top that he pitched every 11 seconds he threw a baseball. So he's not going to have to change anything. There's a lot of elite arm talent pitchers out there who are going to have to feel rushed, and they're going to feel tired. Now, will they eventually get used to it? Maybe. Will it have an issue on their arm and their arm strength? Will we see average velo come down? I think we might. So I don't know. It's just fun. I was looking at guys who it wouldn't affect, and I was like, wow, he's a stud, and he's like 4 full seconds under the clock already. So that's just a fun pick based off of new rules. But I just thought that was cool.
I think it was one of the more overlooked storylines from last season was the fact that Strider dominated. Okay, strikeout per 9, minimum 15 games started. Spencer Strider, 13.8. That's the most ever.
That's like a closer.
Ever. 13.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is Edwin Diaz, I think, was
I was doing the math. For him to get to 300 strikeouts, he needs to throw like 200 innings.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to happen, I don't think. But let's say he throws 180 innings. Probably leads the league in strikeouts. If he keeps that pace, it might come down. But like I said, he's going to feel comfortable with the pitch clock. It's not going to affect him at all.
Interesting.
So,
by the way, the next guy on this list, rookies, strikeouts per 9, minimum 15 games started. Kerry Wood at 12.6. Strider was 1.2 strikeouts per 9.
Not even close.
Of number 2. Like it's
that, and like that sounds close, but it's not close. No. Like close is like 0.2. Yeah.
All right, let's cap this episode off a little Q&A. I think you really hurt your audience because you quote tweeted us and you said, fire us some preguntas. And I don't think your audience speaks Spanish.
You don't know that at all?
You have one response from Eric Cornell. Harder to hit, Tim Wakefield's best knuckleball or Pedro Martinez's best fastball?
I think Pedro Martinez's best fastball because No, I never faced either one of them. But I think Pedro's best fastball would be harder to hit because maybe it says 97, but it's going to feel like 102 because you're so worried about the cambio, which is his best pitch. So that fastball sneaks up on you. That's my answer. Note to self: don't habla español.
Carlos. Oh gosh! As soon as you say this, I get a Spanish name. Carlos Guevara. I think I nailed that. Do you think that the Phillies making the World Series as a last seed drove any of the teams to spend more money than usual this offseason so far?
No, I think it would drive teams to spend less money.
Yeah. He also said, if not, why?
I would just say, I mean, the Phillies and Dombrowski, they love to spend money. Dombrowski loves to trade guys. He loves to spend money. The Phillies didn't have a small payroll last year. I mean, it's a lot bigger now.
No, they didn't.
It's not like they had $100 million payroll last year. They had like $180 million payroll.
Yeah, they weren't intending on being
maybe more
third place team in the National League East. They were
no. So I don't think that question really works just because they weren't a small payroll team. But I think expanding the playoff structure actually tells teams we don't have to spend as much and we can sneak in because you don't have to be elite to get in the playoffs. You can be an 88 win team and how many games did the Phillies win? 87?
I think they might have won 90.
No, they didn't.
I don't think so. Phillies went 87 and 75. Good call.
My bad. Sorry about that. I hate when I'm right like that. But you're like my wife though. Like even when I'm right, I'm wrong somehow. Because I didn't know for sure, and you had to look it up. Like if you were sure, I wouldn't have had to look it up.
Yeah, just rubbing my palms.
But anyways, yeah. So I'll answer that question. I don't think teams feel like they have to go out and spend the big buck. What's up, Melky? My gay. What's up, my dude? I love your dog, man. I feel like Melky and my dog Bo would be like best buds.
Oh, he doesn't fuck around with other dogs. He'll say hello, sniff them, and then
that's how Bo is too. But like, I think they would be boys.
Maybe.
How old's Melky?
He is 10 years old. He's gonna be 11.
Okay. Bo's 8 and gonna be 9. Okay, so they'd be boys. Yeah. They'd like get out, be out, like sit on the porch, get off my lawn, yell at clouds. You know, old man shit.
Yeah.
We're losing it. We need to end this podcast.
Clay Buckholtz fan account. He wants to know if you could revive any member of the 2007 team and throw them on the team now, who would you take?
What, is that a real question? Big Poppy.
Okay.
Oh, let me rethink that. Okay, 2007, I got a guy. You'd think I would go pitching, but I'm not because the Red Sox need pitching. But how do you not bring back Manny Ramirez?
For why, though? Just because of his personality, or?
Because he's one of the best right-handed hitters of all time.
Oh,
in my opinion.
Of course, yeah. When he's juicing.
Because the current Red Sox team need power. They need homers. Yeah, but that's beyond this.
Yeah.
That's not that we're not talking about that. Don't ruin this. Because he's juicing. Yeah.
I said especially when he's
Manny Ramirez is my answer. I initially was like Big Poppy, but like I want to roll with Justin Turner DH this year. I like him.
Yeah.
Not that I think he's better than Big Poppy, but Manny Ramirez.
Yeah.
I like that. Dude rakes. Right. And they need right-handed bats.
The last 2 questions we pretty much answered. They were regarding Trevor Bauer. Will he land a deal? And will the Sox pursue Bauer or Correa? We pretty much answered those questions at the beginning of this episode.
I think either Bauer or Correa, if I had to pick one, they would definitely be after Correa more than Bauer.
Thank you to those who responded.
Thank you for your preguntas.
This is the Wake and Rake podcast powered by Swing Juice. SwingJuice.com is the official merchandise provider for the Wake and Rake podcast. I forgot to say that at the top of the episode, but I was able to fit it in before we ended the episode. So I think I passed the test.
Cool. Well, see you guys.
We'll talk more. See you, people. Have a great New Year. I think I can say that. It's only January 7th, so it's still valid. Happy New Year. Peace.